welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And we would like to invite you to visit badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, where you will find all of our other episodes, over 400 of them. And you'll find our resources page, which will have a lot of information that we're talking about today. And what else will you find there? You'll find information about our sponsor page, which you should visit if you ever need anything. See if you can give them any of your business because they make this podcast possible. And you can also find at badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com information about scheduling your very own one-on-one online lactation consultation with Dianne, the Dianne.
Yes.
And we are on Patreon. We would like to see you over there. So click the link at the top of the show notes under this episode, wherever you're listening from. And we're having a lot of fun over there. We're hanging out every month on Zoom. And then we have our extra episodes and mini podcasts, a lot of original content. So check that out. We're also still hosting our ongoing giveaway for people who leave reviews around the internet. And if you leave a review, whether it's written or stars, take a screenshot, send it to badassbreastfeedingpodcast@gmail.com along with your address. We'll send you a goodie bag of podcast stickers and thank you for nursing in public cards. And Dianne has our review of the week.
I do. It says, to clear my throat first, sorry about that. I had my son mid-August of 2022, and I had no idea of what was to come. A lot of crying was happening for the first year. After a year, when I found this podcast and got my ease of mind that I wasn't the only one going through struggles of breastfeeding, I fully breastfed up until my son was 19 months. The day after his second birthday, I started my job as a breastfeeding peer counselor at my local WIC office. Now I am almost 8 months in and will be beginning my journey on acquiring an IBCLC through Pathway 1. It was this podcast that changed my views on breastfeeding from the start. In the profession of helping others, they will most likely have the answers that you might need.
Well, thanks.
I'm so excited for you that you're going through and going to be an IBCLC. Ooh, like gives me little chills. I'm very excited for you. Yes, and congratulations. And thank you for taking your journey of breastfeeding your son and like helping others, because that is really what it's all about. So thank you so much for that. And yeah, a lot of crying. A lot of crying happens.
There's so much crying. From everyone. Everyone is just crying.
Everyone is just crying. Yes. Everyone is just crying.
And you're like, this can't be right.
It doesn't feel like it is, does it?
It doesn't feel like everyone should be crying all the time. But.
Oh, man. I'm telling you. It was rough. It's rough.
It's terrible. It's awful. This sucks. I mean, like there's times when you're in it where you're just like, this sucks.
Mm-hmm.
This is awful. Like maybe I made a mistake.
Yeah, I remember thinking that.
Like, yeah. Mm-hmm. And people feel so guilty about these feelings. Like, do not feel guilty. Like this shit is hard.
It is so hard. And you get through it. But I feel like that just kind of sums up parenting, right? Like sometimes it just really sucks. Mm-hmm. And it's, as somebody that has older kids, it's still really hard sometimes. And sometimes it still just sucks. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart.
No. And I've had times where my kids are 13 and 10, and I have sometimes where I'm just like, not all the time, but I've just been like, I could just get in the car and drive away.
I know. I'm just not coming back here.
Just like you all can just stay here and I'll go and start a new life somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, because you get through those moments, but boy.
Yeah, you do. You get through it. With the help of stuff like this, a podcast, hearing that you're not the only one that feels like that, I think is really helpful. It's helpful when you have like friends or family members that are also kind of going through the same thing. That can really be really helpful too. It's helpful to know that you're not the only one. and that it is hard. I don't think anybody finds it easy.
No.
And if anybody tells you, oh, this is easy, I'm going to have a ton of kids, that are lying to you.
No, I remember this news story. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this on the podcast before. But like several years ago, there was a woman here, I think in Chicago, where she had 3 kids in her car, and she drove her car into Lake Michigan.
Oh my God.
She just drove her car into the lake. I mean, I think everybody was fine, I think. But like, and I'm not saying I would do it, but I get it.
Yeah.
Like I
totally
get
it.
You know, like, I don't know her story. Like she had, you know, I have no idea, you know, what brings you to that point, you know, beyond like, you know, like, I don't think I would go that far, but like, you don't know somebody else who's suffering with something on top of something or a history of something. And you're just like, this is so hard. Like, and, you know, like, I get it. People are all, I'm this terrible person. And I'm like, I get it.
Get it.
I get it. I was just felt so awful for her.
I know it, to feel that bad, to feel that horrible. Yeah.
Yep.
You felt like that was your escape, you know?
Yeah. Like that was the only way out. It's like, you're in that moment and it's just too much. And you're like, all right, this is it.
Oh man. It's a lot.
Anyway, so we're going to talk about sleep today, which is always
the most sleep a lot.
Thing.
Yeah. It is controversial.
And it is the thing that we get the most feedback on too.
Yeah, that's true. And you would think like sleep, like it should not be as controversial as it really is. And there's so many opinions on it, and there's so much like feedback, like you said, a lot of feedback on it. And there's so many negative things that people say. And it's just like, there's so much. There's been books written on it and research done on it. And it's just, it's not so simple as laying your head down on the pillow and going to sleep.
No, why would it be that easy?
Right.
So there's a book that I really love that I think everybody should get. Everybody. I think it should be handed out in the hospital after you give birth. Like, no kidding. It's not that, it should just be the manual for sleeping. And it's James McKenna's Safe Infant Sleep, Expert Answers to Your Co-Sleeping Questions. And James McKenna is not just anybody. He is the director of the Mother-Baby Behavioral Sleep Laboratory at University of Notre Dame. And
that is a thing. There's a sleep laboratory.
There's a sleep laboratory where he does studies. Like moms and babies go there, fall asleep, and he studies them. And he's been doing it for a very long time. So here is somebody who is like really leading the charge, one of the people leading the charge in this discussion about sleep, infant sleep. And he's also the one you've probably heard, we have an episode on breast sleeping. And that's he was the one who coined that term, because he says that, I just happened to open to the exact quote I was going to try to quote. And so it's so serendipitous. It is not possible to document biologically normal human infant sleep outside of the breast sleeping context. So let me define breast sleeping for you. Breast sleeping, and it is a part of this conversation today. I'm not going on a tangent. Breast sleeping is clearly defined outside of, so he's comparing it to the term co-sleeping. So co-sleeping is just this umbrella term that is like, just refers to your babies nearby. They could be in a crib in the same room. They could be in your bed. They could be in a bassinet. There's also different definitions. I mean, somebody in here says, like, I call it co-sleeping when my 2 babies are sleeping at the same time. This is just a term. It doesn't really mean anything specific. But breast sleeping, which is the safest form of co-sleeping, breastfeeding is specifically comprised of a breastfeeding mother-baby pair sharing a bed during sleep in order to facilitate breastfeeding. As you'll discover throughout this book, breast sleeping is the most beneficial form of co-sleeping for mother and baby. If practiced safely,
The key word.
Yes, breastfeeding may protect against SIDS, help the whole family get better sleep, and make important contributions to an infant's development in the first year. So these are kind of the things that we're going to like talk about, but the whole thing this discussion started with this article that I found. I don't know where I found it anymore. It was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a couple months.
Yeah. And because we always talk about this, like, well, are you going to co-sleep? Are you going to bed share? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? And people are like, I don't know. Yes, no, yes or no. Well, here's the thing. So this study is called Mothers Falling Asleep During Infant Feeding. Falling asleep while feeding is common. Their primary objectives during this study was to, number one, maternally reported prevalence of falling asleep while feeding, and if it was planned or not. Two, the association between falling asleep while feeding and sociodemographic factors, feeding method, and sleep location. And number three, if receipt of education and safe sleep and bed sharing risks were associated with falling asleep while feeding. And so here's the results. A total of 28.2% of mothers reported falling asleep while feeding, usually or sometimes in the last 2 weeks. 83.4% of whom reported that falling asleep while feeding was unplanned.
83.4% was unplanned. It's like everybody.
Everybody who reported falling asleep while feeding.
Yeah.
Most of them that was unplanned.
Yeah.
And there were no differences in the odds of falling asleep while feeding by socio-demographic factors compared with mothers whose nighttime feeding location was their bed. Mothers who reported feeding in a chair were less likely to fall asleep while feeding, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Falling asleep while feeding was reported less frequently by mothers who received safe sleep interventions compared with mothers who received breastfeeding interventions. So they conclude that falling asleep while feeding is reported commonly among U.S. mothers and is predominantly unplanned. Mothers who receive safe sleep messaging were less likely to report falling asleep while feeding. New parents need guidance on planning for optimal safety during infant feeding. So basically, we're talking about how we are falling asleep because we are tired.
Mm-hmm.
And then people worry about falling asleep in bed. So they go to the chair or they go to the couch and fall asleep while feeding. And that's when bad things happen.
Right. And
Also,
nobody really, I'm sorry. No, I was just thinking, nobody really talks about like when you're planning for your baby, you're planning how to feed them, you're planning where they're going to live, their room, you're setting up their room, you're setting up all this stuff. Nobody really thinks about what's going to happen during their sleep time. I think everybody thinks the baby's just going to be in the crib.
Yeah.
And that's just not what's happening. And if you really like when you're pregnant, if you plan for it, if you think about it, if you educate yourself, that's going to make a huge difference in how you feel with nighttime feeding. This is my 2 cents on it.
Yeah. I'm reading this. Yeah, I'm reading this article, and it's talking about how it is. I mean, this was just literally. It's like 2 paragraphs. I just looked at it briefly so that we could talk about how people fall asleep unplanned. But you know, because like you said, you know, you think you know. But
I don't think people realize how tired you get in the middle of the night when you're getting up with this baby every couple of hours.
And you're like, I can totally
think that's
control
what's
it.
Unplanned. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And on top of Oh my God, my brain is going in 800 different directions. This is why I hate doing episodes on this topic, because I can't tell you all the things that I want to tell you. So first of all, let me focus. So even, James McKenna says the current recommendations about sleeping, don't share a bed with your baby, these kinds of things are in direct conflict with science. This is not what science tells us. There are risks if you're not planning and you're not there. The bed sharing is not what is unsafe. It's the couch sleeping, the chair sleeping, the sleeping while under the influence, sleeping in a bed that is not, prepared, having been prepared for sleeping with an infant. It can absolutely be done unsafely. And it is. And bad things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why the education is so important. And the majority of the victims of this are Black communities, poor communities. And we've decided, well, we're not going to spend all this time educating. We're just going to tell people not to do it. Because, we spend less resources when it's poorer communities who are suffering from it. So we don't put as much, we're not going to put in the effort to educate. But that is not helping because people are still going to do it because it's not planned. Many of the times it is not planned. And go ahead.
Just as I also found an article. I was telling Abby when we got on this morning that I found an article. This is from 2010. So it was, it's a little bit older, but it is another study, mother-infant sleep locations and nighttime feeding behavior. And this came from the U.S. data of the Survey of Mothers' Sleep and Fatigue. The present study is a survey of 4,789 mothers of infants from ages 0 to 12 months of age in the U.S. The findings indicate that almost 60% of mothers bed share, and this occurs throughout the first year. It also found that 25% of mothers are falling asleep with their infants in dangerous sleep locations, such as chairs, sofas, or recliners. Recommendations for promoting safe infant sleep are made. So that's a lot, more than half are bed sharing, and they're not telling anybody about it. And it even says that in here, that they're not talking to their doctors. They're not saying anything because everybody thinks it's so taboo.
Yes, because you're being told by your doctor not to do it, but you're not being told how to safely deal with being so freaking tired.
And everybody does it. I won't say everybody, but more than half of parents are doing it. And because they're tired, and this is the way they get sleep.
Yeah, right.
And it says here, bed sharing mothers, 86%, were significantly more likely to receive negative feedback from friends and family about where their babies sleep than when babies room share or sleep in cribs in a different room. So they're not saying anything. They're significantly less likely to tell their healthcare provider where their babies end the night than those babies whose room share. I mean, it's just a lot of babies will start out in a crib or in a bassinet or pack and play or wherever and end up in the bed too. That's another thing. Because you're not expecting, you think, okay, this is where the baby's going to stay. But then the baby's like, I don't think so. And you end up putting them back in your bed anyway. And you really need to have a plan and have a good setup for where your baby's going to be. Right.
And I meant to say this at the beginning, but if your baby sleeps in another room and that works for you, that's great. You're comfortable with that. That's wonderful. That works for you. You're a good parent. there's no competition. It's not like you need to be sleeping with your baby in order to be a great parent. And so you need to hurry up and figure out a way to do that. No, you should only be bed sharing or breast sleeping with your baby if that's something you want to do and you're comfortable with doing, and you pass all of the checklist of safety precautions. Because in this book, again, everybody needs to get it. The Safe Infant Sleep. He goes into very much detail about people who should not be bed sharing. It's not just like everybody should do it. There are situations where it is not safe and you should not be doing it. But the unplanned part and the being so tired is you have to plan for this. Oftentimes people think that we are promoting bed sharing and breast sleeping because we think that makes you a better parent or like something like that. No, we're literally like, it's literally a matter of life or death. Mm-hmm. You have to be prepared to fall asleep on accident or by accident, how I always say on accident. And then my husband's like, what's on accident? It's by accident. You have to be prepared.
Yeah.
You have to be educated and you have to be prepared. And I think it's an absolute disgrace that people are not taught this, like in the hospital or as part of like your prenatal classes or whatever. That is what is causing, the unsafe situations, is the lack of education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
I've had a lot of clients that are like, I just can't put the baby in the bed with me. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm just not comfortable with it. And that's fine. And you shouldn't do it. But they definitely don't have the education behind it either.
Right.
And I think if people had the education, then they would feel comfortable making an informed decision.
Yes. And there are babies that go into a bed and they go in the other room and it's fine. And you have to get up and you're tired, but it's not like an extreme situation. There are some babies because humans have always slept with each other. There are some babies that won't settle in another room. And that becomes so tiring for you. Mm-hmm. Because you like with Jack, there's no way in hell I could have left him in another room. He wouldn't fall asleep. And I could put him asleep in a crib and he will wake up instantly.
Yeah, a lot of this depends on the baby too.
Yes, it's like the personality of the baby.
The personality of the baby. Some babies are more chill and they can do it, and some babies just are not. And if you're not somebody who's into sleep training and doing all of that, then you got to figure out something to make it safe for yourself.
Yeah. So there's a very clear thing in this book about the proper way to bed share and like creating a safe co-sleeping, safe bed sharing setup. And I can just read through the do's and don'ts because it's interesting. I mean, you can't just listen to this episode and be like, okay, now I have everything that I need. Like if you're confident that you've created a safe co-sleeping situation, bed sharing situation, that's great. If you're not, then get the book. There's also a website. He has a website where this part of it is listed on the website. That's actually on our website that you can double check. But I'll just read some of these so you can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about. Ask your partner or anyone else sharing the bed if they are comfortable with the baby sleeping there and if they are willing to share responsibility for the baby's safety through the night. You have to. And if somebody is not, then that's not safe. If somebody's not comfortable with it, then it's not safe. Make sure your baby is sleeping on a clean, firm, non-quilted surface with plenty of space for all occupants. A mattress in the middle of the room with no frame is ideal. And I know people who are just unwilling to do that, to take their bed off of the frame and put it in the middle of the room. You know, they don't want to do that. And that's fine. So then that's
This
the
isn't for
ideal.
you.
That's the
Yeah.
ideal. And this might not be for you. Tie up long hair in a bun or other style that will not be able to wrap around the infant. For extremely long hair, even a ponytail or a braid may pose a hazard. Thoroughly check for any gaps or bars that may cause entrapment. Remove stuffed animals or dolls, heavy blankets, thick duvets, extra pillows, or any other objects that may pose a suffocation risk. Light sheets and breathable blankets are acceptable. If you have to sleep with a comforter and your big fluffy pillows, this might not be for you. That was one of the things that I didn't really like about it, but I dealt with it, was just having to use like thin blankets or sheets. You know, you couldn't use the big fluffy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Keep pets out of the bedroom if they're able to climb onto the bed. I guess if you got like some little something that can't get on the bed, I don't know. Smoke-free environment. If you are a smoker, that's a no. Place your baby on his or her back. Position the baby's head by the breast sleeping parent's chest and not by the pillows. When breastfeeding in bed, make sure the baby returns to this position at the end of each feed. Place your baby between the breast sleeping mother and the edge of the bed so that the baby is not between two individuals. If the second adult is fully and enthusiastically invested in the baby being there and is confident that they can respond to the infant's needs, this may be more flexible. Like in Japan, I think they have these like public service things that could like sleep like a river, where the parents are the banks of the river and the baby's in the middle.
Oh,
And that's their safety thing. Again, different cultures, it is going to matter. Yeah, and then continually be assessing your ability to respond to your baby throughout the night. Now, here's the don'ts. Do not breast sleep if you or your partner smoke, or if you smoke tobacco during your pregnancy. Do not breast sleep if anyone sharing the bed has consumed sedatives, medications, alcohol, marijuana, or any other substances that cause altered consciousness or marked drowsiness. So it could just be a simple medication that you're on that makes it more difficult for you to wake up. And it could be like, this is not an option for you.
Mm-hmm.
Do not breast sleep if anyone sharing the bed, especially the mother, is ill or tired to the point where it could be difficult to respond. Don't leave any space between the bed and the wall where the baby could roll and be trapped. Make sure the mattress fits tightly against the headboard and footboard if it's on a frame, and remove the bed frame if possible. Do not breast sleep if a parent is markedly obese, unless he or she feels confident that the mattress is stiff enough to compensate for the greater weight differential. So the heavier you are, the more of a kind of an indent you're going to make in the bed, which could cause a slope for the baby. So you have to assess that as well. Do not allow older siblings who do not understand the risks of suffocation to sleep in the same bed with infants less than 1 year old. Now, I did this, but I put Jack behind me. Once Exley was born, I put Jack at my back, and then me, and then Exley, and then the edge of the bed. Do not breast sleep if pets are able to climb onto the bed. Don't use thick bedding. Don't allow anything to cover your head or the face of the baby. Sheets and blankets should be porous, preferably cotton. In cold weather, use layers of thin bedding. Do not dress your baby too warmly or set the thermostat too high. This is something, too. I think people think that babies are always cold, but it's the colder, the better. Hot is not ideal. Like, I think I remember learning from Rebecca. No, I know for sure I remember learning from Rebecca Meeke that the ideal sleeping temperature is 60 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Mm-hmm. That's cold.
Yeah.
And your baby is not cold. That's the safest temperature. It's when we get too hot that is not safe. And it's also more difficult to sleep. We were at the car dealership yesterday, and this lady was like, I don't think I should I was going to bring my grandkids to the park, but I think it's 40, it's too cold. I don't think I should bring the baby. And I just wanted to be like, no, it's fine. They're good cold. They're fine. They're cold
They're
is
fine.
okay. I mean, it's 20 below. They shouldn't be out there. Nobody should be out there for a super long time. But being cool is okay. Never leave long hair down or wear night clothes with strings or ties. Never place babies alone in an adult bed. Babies should always sleep under supervision. And so that's the kind of summary of it in his book. And I have 2 of these. Maybe I should do a giveaway.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It is. And so there's special considerations too. Breast sleeping with twins or multiples, co-bedding with twins, co-sleeping with an adopted baby, co-sleeping with premature underweight babies. Premature underweight babies, it's not recommended to bed share. I highly recommend this book. It's great. And yeah, I think I'll do a giveaway.
That would be great. So stay tuned for that, everybody.
Yeah, I'll do it on like Instagram, like social media, the Badass Breastfeeder. Oh, let me write it down because I'll do it the week that this comes out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Actually, everybody listening to it is like, what do you mean the week that comes out? It's out. Oh, so head to social media, the Badass Breastfeeder, Facebook and Instagram, and Dianne Cassidy can share it too. And
yes,
we'll give away this book.
It'd be awesome.
All right. That was obviously not pre-planned.
No, it was not. So
we obviously just scratched the surface on this topic, which I know is really hard. It's a really hard topic. But we just want people to have the safety information. Mm-hmm. And it's out there. The research is out there. And thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.